Cortisol is secreted when we're in protection mode. It's going to get us to slow down metabolism. It's going to get us to make sure that we always have blood sugar high. And then the result of that, insulin is going to be released, and insulin is going to store blood sugar. And once it hits its capacity for storage of carbohydrates, such as glycogen, in a form of glycogen, it is going to be converted to body fat. And now here's the second role of insulin. Remember, insulin is a storage hormone. So when insulin's released, goal is store, hoard, meaning it's going to find everything and hoard, and then also make sure nothing will be released. So that means whatever's in storage, if insulin is high in the bloodstream, your body is not going to pull up any stored fat in its fat cells or the glycogen that's in its liver. Day 2. Oh my goodness, you are back. So that's good news. It's good news that you're back. And before we get started, I'm just curious, for those of you that are here on day 2, you've got an opportunity to listen to day 1, whether you were here live or you watched the recording. What was one of your takeaways? Share with me in the chat. What did you take away from yesterday's conversation? So for those of you joining in and just jumping on here, as we get started, I want to hear, if you were here yesterday, we were talking about the nervous system. We were talking about the role of the nervous system in either getting your body to be in storage mode, which means fat favoring mode and needing to do this for survival, or in release mode, in usage mode, which is fat oxidation mode, which your body can get into the state when it doesn't need to survive, when it feels at ease, when it feels safe. So as you jump in here, and I'm just waiting for the comments, I want to share with you that before we get started today, we're going to do a quick recap, because I know it's heavy. I know it's a lot of information, and especially for most of us, this could be things that we're listening to for the first time. And by the way, if you're here and you're either already in the Make Peace with Food program, or you've come to one of my Fat Loss 101 or Rapid Release Masterclasses, I know that there will still be those aha moments where suddenly something landed. And it still happens to me, by the way. So as much as I've been in this space for over 25 years now, I'll be reading this thing or maybe reviewing this concept that I've already heard before, or I actually teach, and all of a sudden something just clicked in a very new way. And it was around something completely different. And what you'll also hear me say throughout these 9 days is how you do anything is how you do everything. So even though we're talking about our behavior and how our nervous system gets into fight or flight, or what we call protection mode, to make sure that you'll survive, to make sure that metabolically your physical body will survive whatever threat / trauma / famine that has to endure. But what you'll also notice is that your thoughts are impacted and your emotions are affected. And the way that your mindset is around your body and your health is actually the same mindset that you approach your relationships with, that you approach your finances with, that you approach even the difficult moments in your life with. And here's the secret that nobody tells you, because let me just plug in here really quick. The diet industry is $1 billion industry. It's $1 billion industry. And what about the pharmaceutical industry? And we're not here to bash any type of industry that has offered us support, because I shared with you, I've had surgery on my back twice, and thank goodness for allopathic medicine, because I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things that I can do today. I was 2 millimeters away from paralysis in 2012. And so what I do want to bring your awareness to is we haven't actually been told the truth. We've been told the truth of our solution to our problems being somehow out there. If we just find it, it's out there. There's this magic diet out there, this magic shot out there, this magic meal plan, or these magic superfoods out there. And if we just can find it, and we can find the right quantity to eat, because we've got the best app that will tell us this, and we've got the best dietitian who will show us how, and we've got the best trainer that's going to tell us how to exercise, then we will be able to achieve our results. And that's actually not true, because transformation happens in the mind. That's actually the truth. Your transformation, your healing, your journey actually begins in the mind, which means it begins with something as simple as your thoughts. And you're going to hear me share and explain what this means over these few days. Yesterday, we talked about the nervous system. We talked about how you're either in protection mode or you're in safety mode. We spoke about how safety mode is where all of the fat release can happen. That's actually where your body heals. That's where it digests. That's called rest and digest. Well, what do you think happens when we digest food? When we eat food and we digest food, those are two separate processes, by the way. Eating food is the process of chewing and mastication and mixing in saliva and other enzymes with your food and bringing it to the digestive system. That's part one. That also takes a lot of energy actually to do. Part two is now the digestion, which really means that this food now has to go through a process where it's broken down. And then depending on your nervous system state, your body will receive the command to either store it or to use it. And it'll also receive the command around whether or not you are full and satisfied. Again, depending on which nervous system state you're in. So some of you answered yesterday, it feels like I'm always hungry. I can't tell when I'm full. I'm always looking for something to eat. I always have these cravings. I don't know how to satisfy them. And that's because your body is trapped and stuck in protection mode, which means the information that your nervous system keeps giving your body is that there's an emergency situation. This is survival mode. And this is the very primitive part of the brain. This is the back part of the brain. This is not the part of the brain that's under our conscious control. What's under our conscious control is what we are aware of right now. I know that I'm here right now sharing day 2 of rapid release, and I know exactly the process I want to bring you through today. That is under my conscious control. What's under my unconscious control right now are my emotions and my heart rate and my blood pressure and the hormones that are circulating in my body. I don't actually command them. Those happen as a result of whatever thought I initially created. So if I have a lot of fear and doubt and shame and guilt and worry, well, guess what? I command my body to get ready for survival. And if instead I have a lot of gratitude to be here and I'm excited and I have peace and I have joy and I can't wait to go through this and I'm just feeling so honored to be here, that's a very different message that my body is receiving and therefore preparing for. And so can you imagine day in, day out when we wake up in the morning and we have all these thoughts of fear and worry, whether we're worried about our kids or finances, or we're worried about our health, or we're worried about the state of the world. Those types of thoughts trigger the nervous system, trigger that unconscious part of the brain to prepare for an emergency. And the way that your body prepares for an emergency is to make sure that you can survive. Remember what happened in the pandemic? The moment that we heard, oh my God, the sky was falling and the world is ending. What did everybody do? We bought out everything at the grocery store. Isn't that what we did? I mean, I couldn't find toilet paper or beans. And back then I wasn't eating meat. I couldn't find chickpeas, or you guys call them garbanzo beans, anywhere. They were sold out like for weeks. And so were all the canned goods, because that's what we do. It's like we have a bunker and we're filling it up with supplies. I know some people here in this room that went through the Gulf War with me. I was in the Middle East during the Gulf War. Yes, Susan Gregory is going to start laughing because you remember what we did? We hoarded. That's what we did. I remember in our garage, my dad had this little room in the garage and we'd walk in there and it was like all the way up to the ceiling with like boxed things and canned things. And there was a can opener and there was water bottles. We were hoarding because literally there were scuds flying overhead like every day. And we had to walk around with gas masks. And we saw that in COVID. And so we did this in COVID. We started hoarding. And that's what your body does when it feels like it's in danger. It starts to hoard. Does that make sense? Type a 1 in the chat if you're resonating with this, if this is starting to make sense today, if this is starting to make sense. All right, awesome. I see, and I'm going to come back and read some of these comments here. Yo-yo diets don't work. Susan Gregory's takeaway from yesterday. Martine, to work on my nervous system to shift into secured mode. That's right. Deborah, that you had the same struggles in the past with diet as I did. And so there is help. Yeah. And Deborah, I love to share my story because I'm not the only person in the fitness space who has endured this. Like I shared with you yesterday, I work with fitness competitors. So, I mean, they go through grueling training and dieting to be able to stand on stage for just a couple hours. And why this conversation is important is because I never shared this part of my life for a very long time. And I never thought actually to share it because I never thought it was as big of an issue until my brother actually was the one who pointed it out to me. And he said to me, and I shared this with you guys in some of my emails last week. He's like, Sherry, like I've never met anyone so obsessed with food. And I was like, I'm not obsessed with food. And then I just like walked away and like, oh my God, I think about food all the time. And it wasn't in the way of like, ooh, I crave this or crave that. It was more like, can I eat this? Can't eat this. Reading on nutrition and the biochemistry of it. I've got a biochemistry degree. I've got an exercise science degree. I'm an osteopath. I'm a big nerd. So I'm always reading on nutrition. And of course, it's all called nutrition science. Because guess what? I was actually not just reading these random articles on WebMD. I'm actually looking at scientific studies with control groups. And that's where it started to get very confusing because there is data to prove everything to be true. There is whatever you want to look for and you want to prove to be true, you can through the science, right? And that actually, if you think about it, it makes us more and more confused because the information is out there. And like I shared yesterday, you are not here today because you need to hear something that you don't already know about nutrition. You already know all the things. Nobody's here today because they need to learn to have a balanced diet of proteins and carbohydrates and fats. If I ask you what are good fats and what are bad fats, quote unquote, you're going to tell me what it is in the chat. I don't need to tell you that. That's not the issue. You already know all these things. But where we get stuck is why aren't we implementing these things? Why? Why is it that my body's literally fighting me? And it seems like the more I get more strict around my diet and I start to really get more calculated with my macros or start counting calories, or I notice I've put on weight and I'm thinking about my weight and I fear my weight. And the more I'm focused on these things, why is it that I actually find myself stuck longer? And now I'm behaving around food in a very different way. Like I never used to do this. I never used to just eat 5 pieces of this thing. I never used to finish an entire bag of this thing. Why is it also that since the moment you've started dieting, you're now struggling with your weight more than ever? And I bet you if you look back on that first moment when you went on your first diet, I'm sure you're thinking, I would do anything to go back there. Like I wasn't even that overweight. Like what was I even thinking? How do I know that? That's because that's what I hear all the time. I went on my first diet in grade school and my mom wanted me to release X number of pounds. And oh my God, when I look back at my photos, I was so skinny. Like I can't believe it. And I've been struggling with my weight ever since. Why is that? Because you've programmed your nervous system to fear food, to fear what to eat, and then to have fear and uncertainty and lots of shame and low vibration emotions that are linked with how you feel after you eat. So food is a very threatening thing for your nervous system when you've been dieting for a long time. And so regulating your nervous system in this way is going to be about you making peace with food, you making yourself feel safe around food. And now some of us are in this room and we are emotional eaters, meaning the goal was never first to diet. What we actually started to realize was that we were turning to food to cope with emotions. So feeling stress, then wanting to eat because you feel stressed, feeling bored, nighttime snacking. And every time you feel anxiety, you eat. When you're going through a very stressful moment in your life, you eat or drink or smoke or shop. I'm going to just keep inserting these because like I shared earlier, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I want you to expand on this and notice that this is just a behavior of the nervous system that manifests in different areas of your life, not just around food. And so if you are an emotional eater and you've been coping with emotions, you've been regulating your emotions, certain emotions that actually are fearful based. With food, what you're going to see over time is that the result of that has been weight gain over time. And so what happens? You have these dysregulated emotions, fear, anxiety. Maybe somebody diagnosed you with ADHD and maybe someone diagnosed you with something. And now you believe that there's no way to regulate your emotions around it. There's no way to regulate your nervous system around it. So you've been turning to food to cope. And the result of turning to food to cope has resulted in weight gain. So now we have 2 things that are going on at the same time. We've got the emotional eating component going on. And then we also have now this fixation on weight and a lot of shame and guilt about the weight gain. So now we're dieting. And now what we're actually doing is we're stressing the body even more because now we're adding, like I shared yesterday, food scarcity. And now I'm feeling really, really uncomfortable about eating. I'm uncomfortable in my body. I've got all these things going on in my life that I don't know how to handle. Maybe I'm going through a divorce. Maybe something's going on with my kid. Maybe I've endured trauma that I've never actually healed up until now. And it's still manifesting in my body. And I've been turning to food to cope throughout this whole entire time. But now I've got a secondary issue that's the side effect of my emotional eating, which is the weight gain. And so now I'm trying to diet. And now my body is like freaking out because it doesn't know what to do with the emotions. And then on top of it, I'm adding even more emotions of shame and disappointment as a result of my emotional eating and the fact that I've been gaining weight over time. And I feel completely out of control. And so what do? I'm on another diet. Now I'm doing intermittent fasting. Now I've started now I've hired a trainer. Now I'm doing something else. And what am I doing? I'm just adding to it. If you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, it's called insanity. I'm going to remind you of that every single day. And so if you want to stop this and stop this quickly, it's not going to be through a promise that you're going to go on some sort of diet and release X number of pounds. It's going to be through a promise that if you start working on your nervous system and you calm it down and you start to feel safe, these emotions that used to drive you to unwanted eating actually start to feel, I can handle them. They start to feel more regulated in the body. I can have stress and then also learn to manage my stress. I can have anxiety and also learn how to calm my mind and bring it to the present moment. Anxiety comes from your thoughts being projected into the future. Depression comes from your thoughts being projected into the past. When you are always thinking about things in the future and you're trying to predict them, the problem with that is that there's so much uncertainty. And anxiety comes from lack of control. And I'm going to say the word anxiety, but also I want you to plug in here stress. Whether you experience stress at work, stress in your relationship, stress at home, all of this is fear-based. And the fear comes from the fact that you can't control something. Something is out of your control. There is uncertainty. And if there's uncertainty, then you don't feel safe. If there's a feeling of uncertainty, then you're not feeling safe. If you can't control the outcome, that feels very unsafe. And so the goal to regulating your nervous system is to feel safe in the uncertainty, to feel safe to be yourself, to feel safe because you no longer are experiencing the aftermath of the trauma that you've endured. You feel safe to be around food. And like I shared yesterday, that feeling of safety is not the absence of somebody trying to attack me. Feeling safe really means that my mind can be still. I'm not thinking about things in the future and worst case scenarios, and I'm not thinking about things in the past, things that I regret, things that I wish I had done differently, right? So if my thoughts are like, oh my God, what did they think of me? What did that person think? Why did I do that? Why? Those are thoughts that are projected in the past. When I'm always worried about, oh my God, what will happen if I run out of money? What will happen if I can't this? What will happen if this doesn't happen? What will happen if I lose what will happen? Those are thoughts that are projected in the future. Both of those situations are out of our control. We can't change or control things from the past, or we can't change and try to predict things and control things that haven't even happened yet in the future. And all of that feels unsafe. So does this constant thought of the not enoughness. And we're going to talk about this today. We're going to talk about the scarcity mindset today. We're going to continue to unpack protection mode and safety mode. And I'm going to pause here a moment and just hear some of the things that are coming up for you, because now that I've started sharing a little bit more and I've expanded a little bit more on the nervous system, for those of you that may have answered yesterday, okay, cool. This was new information. It was super interesting. And yeah, it's valuable, but I don't know what to do with it yet. Are you guys starting to already feel like, okay, there's this direction now that we're starting to move towards where we are going to be doing something with this? So just where are you at right now? Where are you at right now? And this is also a great time while you're self-reflecting to answer a quick poll that we're going to put up in just a moment. And again, this will help us really gear the conversation towards what would serve you the best. And so for those of you watching the replay, the question is, what is the number one thing you want to achieve through gaining 100% control around your food, weight loss, and health? In other words, why do you want to achieve food and body freedom? What is the number one thing you want to achieve through gaining 100% control around food, weight loss, and health? Why do you want to achieve food and body freedom? And just based on what we're talking about right now. And let's think deeper also, besides it just being this number on the scale that you're trying to get to. Why would it be important? What would your life look like, feel like, be like if you achieve these goals without having to restrict and diet and count your calories and pack your food and bringing it everywhere you go, but actually feeling that sense of freedom? How will that reflect in your life? I'm just going to read some of these comments here and then read also what you're sharing. Thank you, Patty, for sharing this. Yeah, emotional eating since childhood. Can you repeat that? Anxiety comes from thoughts in the future, and depression comes from thoughts in the past. Ursula answered. Thank you. Lucy's ready to take action. Deborah is anxious to learn more. Patty, happy with this discussion. Freedom to think about other things. Yeah. Oh, well, this is so good. So the answer to the poll question, freedom to think about other than food ideas. The world would open up for me. Yeah, right. Martine, this makes me feel so good. It makes 100% sense. Awesome, Martine. I'm so happy you're here and happy this is resonating with you. Evangelia, release childhood trauma and deal with emotions. Yeah. Welcome, sister. Yes. And it's amazing because on Monday, we're going to be doing inner child healing. So Evangelia, you want to join in on Monday. And what's so special about inner child healing is this. There's this little child persona in you that still has the same thoughts and beliefs that it did when she was or he was 5 or 6 or 7, and still governing a lot of your actions and your perspective of the world today. So my little 6-year-old girl that was rejected in first grade, that never was invited to the birthday parties, that little girl, she exists in me. And this is a true story. And sometimes she still shows up and she still feels like she's going to be rejected and she's not going to be included. And even though I'm 44, I'm going to be 45 this year, that little girl, from her little perspective of the world, her very sheltered, small, limited perspective of the world, gets to still govern how I make decisions, unless I heal that part. And now many of us have had difficult childhoods in different ways. And this is not a competition of who's had it the worst. Remember what I shared yesterday, trauma isn't what happened to you. Trauma is how you've responded to it. And when we endure trauma, what ends up happening if we don't heal it is that the body just puts that on repeat over and over and over and over and over again. So you didn't endure that experience once. Your body's continued to relive it since that moment it's happened. And now with added beliefs and unconscious beliefs and perspectives and additional emotions, and now linking in more life experiences. You had a relationship where somebody broke your heart, and then all of a sudden the next relationship, boom, that shows up and it's still manifesting. Then the next relationship, that's still manifesting, and it's growing and it's growing, it's growing. And now it's this long belief system. It's a massive story in which you're viewing dating or relationships or partnerships or union or your safety even around men, for example. And this is what we do unless we heal these parts. And then guess where it shows up? It shows up with how we behave around food, because this is going on and I feel unsafe. And so I'm going to turn to food because that's the one thing that actually makes me feel safe. And unconsciously, we're going to talk about this also throughout the week. Unconsciously, that's sometimes something that we do to protect ourselves. And I've worked with many women, unfortunately, who've endured massive sexual trauma. And unconsciously, what they do is they tend to eat so that the result of that could be that they are no longer a target, that their appearance is going to inhibit any other possibility of them ever being violated or abused in that way ever again. And this is happening unconsciously. So the conscious mind is, I want to release weight. I want to be healthy. But the unconscious mind is, no, whoa. We're going to get attention. This is going to be a problem. We're going to be this is going to be a threat, right? We are going to be prey. And so your conscious mind is thinking one thing and your unconscious mind is behaving in a completely different way. And all of your actions that you do throughout the day, the majority of them, 80% of them, come from your unconscious programming, not your conscious programming. It's your unconscious programming. All the choices that you make throughout the day around what you're going to eat, how much you're going to eat, how you're going to spend money, how you're going to be in a relationship, how you'll feel safe, safe or unsafe, the responses that you're going to have, the things that you're going to say, all of that comes from your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind is what knows, oh, okay, these are the appointments on my calendar today. I've got a doctor's appointment. I got to hit the pharmacy, got to go do groceries. That's your conscious mind. That's what is in your awareness right now. Is this resonating with you? Type a 1 in the chat if this is resonating. Ursula. All right, cool. And then also as I one. And as I share this, and if it's not, be like, share, you know what, repeat. No, this is actually not. But here's what's so cool about these 9 days together is my goal is to continue to repeat, add on, because I want you to be pros by the end of these 9 days. And I will be sharing ways for you to join Make Peace with Food. However, if you decide that this is not a fit for you, or if you get on a call with me and I decide that I'm not a fit for you, then I at least want these 9 days together to be meaningful and very useful. And these 9 days together could be a standalone course on their own, more valuable than the last weight loss program that you invested in. That's my plan for you. And today we're going to be doing a little process together, this little hypnotherapy process together, but I want to set you up for it first, okay? And the way I'm going to set you up for it first is I'm going to talk to you about scarcity mindset. And so what I would like for you to do in just a moment, I will be asking you to get very still wherever you are, meaning I want you to feel comfortable in your environment. I won't get you to scream or do anything where someone's going to have to bust in the room and see if you're okay. But what I do want you to do is feel very safe to be in this space. So if you're at work or if you're in an environment where the kids are running around, if you can try to get yourself still for 10, 15 minutes, I'll tell you when that will be. It's going to be very useful for you. And guess what? We're recording this so you can come back to it later and listen to it again. Okay. So today I want to talk to you about 2 key hormones that are so important for rapid release. This, of course, has to do with what? The nervous system. And we're going to talk about scarcity mindset and why that is really important. So yesterday when I spoke about the nervous system, remember we're talking about the autonomic nervous system. That's the part of the nervous system that's unconscious, taking care of all the processes in the background that we don't have to give direct command to, which includes our behavior, our thoughts, our emotions, our hormones, our enzymes, our digestion. And we are triggered into fight or flight or protection mode, which is part of the autonomic nervous system. It's called the sympathetic portion or division of the autonomic nervous system. We are triggered into this anytime we need to survive something. And it's a very, very useful, beautiful, wonderful way that we can evolve and that we can survive. And it's actually how we've evolved and we've survived up until now, except that it was always designed for short duration, for a short period of time. Saber-toothed tiger, run. And now I've got superpowers, and the hormones that are released when we're in fight or flight or protection mode actually do give us superpowers. Hormones such as adrenaline coming from the adrenal glands and cortisol also coming from the adrenals. And the adrenals are these little glands that sit right above your kidneys. And so we're able to have superhero powers when we are in protection mode. However, it's very stressful for the body. It's very stressful for the body because when we trigger ourselves into protection mode, remember, since the primary goal is survival, what's going to happen is metabolism has to slow down. So, okay, conserve energy, right? So imagine this whole amazing divine creation is doing everything it possibly can to get you to survive. If you are struggling with your weight or releasing weight and you're noticing that you're always craving food and you're maybe mindlessly eating, or you're craving dopamine hits through different avenues and vehicles, I want to tell you that you're actually perfectly healthy. Your nervous system is actually perfectly healthy. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's just maybe stuck, like the dial is stuck and it can't get unstuck until we manually bring it back. Because what's happened is now every single day, every single moment of my day is now the new normal of fight or flight. Every single moment of my life is fight or flight. And my body has adapted to that just being my normal state all the time. Feeling anxious is always normal for me. Yelling at my kids and yelling at everybody and rage has just become my normal because I've been in it for so long, right? First it was work, and then all of a sudden it was this, then I broke my leg, and then all of a sudden this happened. My parent was in the hospital, then all of a sudden this, then I lost my job, and then this, and then this, and it's like, and I've never come down, right? And that's actually, those are the messages I hear from people when I sit down in a consultation. That's the first thing I ask. What's been going on? I don't know why I gained weight. I don't know. It was going really well, but all of a sudden it was like, I don't know. I just started eating and I just started craving sugar and I hadn't eaten sugar in so long. And all of a sudden I started eating sugar and it's like, I don't know what happened. Yeah, because what happened had nothing to do with your diet. What happened had everything to do with what was going on in your life, in your world. And your nervous system has been stuck in this state just trying to protect you. And so when we are in protection mode, we're supposed to be there for a short period of time. But now when we've been in there for weeks, that's too long. 2 weeks is way too long for you to be in protection mode. A few days, 72 hours max, and then come right back down. Or even better, when you learn how to make peace with food, when you learn how to regulate your nervous system, you're in that state now for minutes, maybe hours, but then you come right back. You know exactly how to come right back so that this doesn't manifest and continue to become this big thing now, like this big avalanche that now is much harder to regulate. And so when you're in protection mode, your metabolism slows down to conserve energy. And then the other thing that happens is cortisol is released from the adrenals. I told you yesterday that we turn on the binge mechanism. It's a natural response that when we are in protection mode, your body's going to want to favor fat storage. And so what does it do? It releases cortisol. Your adrenals start to release cortisol. And that's what happens. That is exactly the job of cortisol. Cortisol is to get you to make sure that you always have sugar, the simplest form of sugar, glucose, available in your bloodstream. And so what does it do? First, it pulls up all of the glucose in your body that you already have stored and it puts it in your bloodstream. And if you don't do anything with it, because remember, this is our divine ability to protect ourselves, to be able to run, to be able to fight. So when we have glucose in our bloodstream, this is instant energy. We have access to like instant energy in case we do need to punch somebody or hit somebody or run really fast or climb something. But that's not what we do. We're sitting at our desk or we're sitting on the couch with so much blood sugar going through our body and we're not actually using it in the way that we're supposed to. And guess what else happens? Cortisol, since it wants you to always have blood sugar available, is now getting me to crave things that are unconsciously going to be able to maintain that blood sugar level. It's insane, but and also so intelligent, isn't it? Isn't this amazing? But here's what happens. What happens is, since we don't use this sugar that's circulating to the blood, and also since most of our food has now become more and more and more refined, and of course, these are the foods that we crave, right? Come on, when you're in protection mode, are you craving celery and carrots? No, you're not. You're craving chips, you're craving cookies, you're getting ice cream, and more and more and more of it, and you've got a sweet tooth or a salty tooth. And so we've got all this blood sugar now circulating. And so now we've got another hormone that's got to kick in. And it's got to help out. And that other hormone is insulin. So we've got so much blood sugar because cortisol, that's its job. Its primary job is to make sure there's blood sugar. So what does it do? Ups the craving, turns on the binge response. Make sure that you are like a bottomless pit, that you can keep eating, keep binging. Binge is a natural response in the reptilian brain, in this part of the nervous system, in protection mode. That's going to get you to want to eat more. And so much blood sugar. And we're not using it in the way that our ancestors used to use it, which was to hunt, which was to run, which was to climb, which was to protect themselves. And guess what? They also ate fruits and berries. They didn't eat Haagen-Dazs and Baskin-Robbins and Lay's potato chips. And they didn't have McDonald's and they didn't have all of these things. And so we have so much blood sugar available. And so our body has to regulate that because actually sugar in the blood is very harmful. It can even cause blindness. It can cause amputations. It literally degenerates tissue. It's very abrasive. And it leads to, when it's in high accumulation, leads to things like fatty liver and heart disease and other metabolic conditions. And you know all this. I don't have to expand on it anymore. And so to manage this blood sugar, the pancreas, which is an organ that produces insulin. You guys have heard of insulin. For those of you who know what prediabetes or diabetes is and you've heard about this, you know what insulin is. Insulin is the hormone that's released when blood sugar is high, and it is the storage hormone. Insulin is a storage hormone. So it takes all of the sugar in the blood and it brings it to the tissue, to the muscle, and then to the liver, and then packs it and stores it in a very compact form of carbohydrate storage called glycogen. And the thing is, the body has a very small ability to store that. And it's very easy to fill that capacity of storage. And once that capacity of storage is filled, the rest of it is going to go into our fat cells and be converted to triglycerides and stored as fat. And so cortisol is secreted when we're in protection mode. It's going to get us to slow down metabolism. It's going to get us to make sure that we always have blood sugar high. And then the result of that, insulin is going to be released. And insulin is going to store blood sugar. And once it hits its capacity for storage of carbohydrates, such as glycogen, in a form of glycogen, it is going to be converted to body fat. And now here's the second role of insulin. Remember, insulin is a storage hormone. So when insulin's released, goal is store, 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 hoard, 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 meaning it's going to find everything and hoard and then also make sure nothing will be released. So that means whatever is in storage, if insulin is high in the bloodstream, your body is not going to pull up any stored fat in its fat cells or for the glycogen that's in its liver. So you see, those are the two hormones that we have to actually regulate. We all hear about estrogen and estrogen is so high and PCOS. PCOS is a secondary condition. Estrogen, high estrogen or estrogen dominance is a secondary condition which results from high glucose levels. Somebody asked about hypothyroidism today. Hypothyroidism also happens when we've over-fatigued the adrenals. We've over-fatigued our endocrine system through these constant spikes of sugar, insulin, hypoglycemia, sugar, insulin, hypoglycemia, sugar, insulin, hypoglycemia. And then we start to hear something called insulin resistance. The pancreas is like, I can't keep up. Just can't do it anymore. I just can't do this. I can't keep up with your demands. And so then we hear that we have insulin resistance. And then all of a sudden we go and see the doctor and now we're pre-diabetic because of our A1C levels. And we're just at that borderline of type 2 diabetes, which by the way, all of these things I'm talking about can be reversed, but it's not going to be through controlling your diet. See, here's the thing. Okay. Now that I've shared this with you, does it make sense now that, okay, solution, I'm going to stop sugar. Okay. Go ahead and try to fight the cravings when cortisol is high. Try to fight cortisol. Try to do that. So no, the solution is not to attack just the diet. That's going to be something that you and I do together when we design your metabolic blueprint in the Make Peace with Food program. However, what's even more important than that is regulate cortisol. Because if cortisol is high in my body and I'm in protection mode all the time, I don't know how to not be in protection mode, then I will always have cortisol that's going to do its job, which is cravings. Sherry, you have all of these health conditions. That's fine. Cortisol is still going to do its job. So even though you know you've got the high blood pressure or you've got the high cholesterol or you're pre-diabetic or diabetic and you know this is going on, unless you address the nervous system, unless you address the high cortisol is going to be doing its job. Even though you want your health back, cortisol is going to be doing its job. You want your health back. And that is why we can't judge anybody who's in this situation, who knows exactly what to do, but is unable to do it. It's not their willpower. Your biology is always more powerful than your willpower. If you cut your finger right now, can you command your body, don't heal? Don't heal. Stop it. Stop healing. Stop it. You can't. You can't do that. That's how powerful it is. Your body is going to heal after a week or two. It's going to be completely gone. There'll be absolutely no trace that you even cut your finger. You can't stop that. That's how powerful biology is, which is why that's how powerful it is when you have cortisol circulating through your blood, governing exactly what's happening in your metabolism. You can't fight that. The only way to fight that is to prevent it, is to understand, okay, I am in protection mode because of my thoughts and my emotion. And when I'm in protection mode, I'm in what's called a scarcity mindset. Protection mode, you know you're in protection mode when you have a not enoughness mindset. That's a scarcity mindset. People aren't nice enough. There isn't enough money in the economy. There isn't enough food. There isn't enough anything. And even the way that I describe myself, I am not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not a good enough mom. Anytime you're noticing the not enough, completing your sentence or right in the middle of your sentence, you are in a scarcity mindset. I know tons of wealthy people. Before they became wealthy, they were always struggling with money. I don't have enough money. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. There's not enough. So their worries was always about not having enough money to pay the bills. And then they made some great decisions in life, got some support and coaching, and became very, very wealthy and still kept that scarcity mindset, which was, well, what if I lose all my money? What if all of a sudden something happens, the economy changes and I lose it all? Well, what if my employees quit on me? What if all of a sudden the market changes and then I can't get enough clients? What if? So your scarcity mindset isn't about what you have. It's about your constant fear of not having it. There's fear there. That is the emotion. And this emotion is what's going to continue to drive drive when you feel uncertain, when you don't have control. And that's this, again, scarcity mindset comes from lack of control. And I see this always happen with people also around their health journey. I didn't lose enough weight. I'm not fit enough. I'm not small enough. And then they go on a program, they achieve their results, and the whole time they're worried they're going to lose it all. What if I gain all the weight back again? What if I can't maintain this? What if this doesn't work for me? Well, what if after a year this all goes back? What if this program doesn't? What if? And it's again, it's the not enoughness. That's called the scarcity mindset. And anytime you are in a scarcity mindset, you are in protection mode. You are in protection mode. Your body's going to gear for survival. How? Because there's a lack. You're unconsciously in a belief system that there's a lack, there's not enough, and something may happen as a consequence to it. And so think about it. And this is what we're going to do right now in just a moment. Think about it. How much of your day do you spend in the not enoughness? I'm so tired. I didn't get enough sleep. I don't have enough time. I had all this work to do and I didn't get it because I didn't get it done because I didn't have enough resources. I want to be able to buy this, but I don't have enough money. I want to be able to do this, but I don't have enough. There's this retreat I want to go on to, but I can't because there's not enough this and that and that and this. And it's a constant not enough. And then you look at yourself in the mirror. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I just started drinking more water and walking. It's not moving fast enough. I haven't lost the weight fast enough. Everything is a not enough. Up until the last moment of your day, it's a not enough mindset. And that every single thought that you have is going to create chemistry in the body. And if there is a scarcity mindset, the emotion that's there is fear. The emotion that's there is fear. Fear arises when we don't have control, like I shared with you. If I can't predict something, then I can't feel safe, then I've got fear. The unknown feels very fearful. And fear is a trigger that results in protection mode. Anytime you have fear, like I shared, fear around your food, fear around things in life, fear is going to trigger protection mode. And again, that comes from scarcity mindset. A lack mindset is a mindset that is based around fear. So put a 1 in the chat if this is starting to make sense. And then put a 2 in the chat if you're going to join me tomorrow to continue this conversation, because tomorrow we're going to unhack metabolism. We're going to talk about metabolism and how to really get yourself to reset your metabolism, not in a way where you're now having to do keto and intermittent fasting, but in a way where you're going to actually look at diet in a very, very new and refreshing way. All right. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay. So before we sign off today, I told you I want you guys to get comfortable. So now is that time. And this is just going to be a very short 5-minute process because I want to keep this short so that you can learn this. Okay. So wherever you are right now, I usually do this and I want to make sure I'm sitting on both of my sit bones. You see me kind of moving around in my chair a little bit because I always have like a little lumbar support. And so if you have a little something to keep you comfortable, it's great. This also just helps keep my spine neutral and straight. And then when you're ready, you can just place your hands on your thighs and place them down on your thighs. And then just relax your shoulders. Just noticing that you're going to be in a neutral position, your shoulders, and then just watch your chin. You don't want to have it up too high or down low. Try to imagine you're looking straight ahead just so that you can keep the neck neutral. Also, Ursula, you can bring your chin down just a bit. You got it, sister. That's right. Okay. And then when you feel safe to do so, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And just sitting in this space right now, knowing that you don't need to be anywhere else. You've got this time for you right now. You're deserving of this moment. And just connecting with your breath. And not needing to do anything right now with your breath, except just to notice it. Specifically noticing that you're actually being breathed into. You know that if you try to hold your breath, some divine force is going to force you to breathe. And you'll also notice that your mind is chattering. Maybe wondering how long this is going to last. Maybe even wondering if you're doing this right. Or maybe thinking about the list of to-dos that you have today. And so just let it. Because the goal is not to stop the mind. It's just to let it be. It's doing its job. creating thoughts the way your heart creates heartbeats. And now with your mind's eye, you can see this bright light in front of you. It's a circular light. It's radiant. It should be blinding, and yet you can comfortably stare at it for as long as you want. And it's amazing, this light. You can't take your eyes off of it. You know there's something special about it. And as you keep your focus on this light, see it now traveling down towards your navel. And it's like it's doing the scan of your digestive system. It's moving back and forth. You can see your colon. And circulating your abdominal cavity, starting at the bottom of your right hip, traveling up to the right side of the ribs, across the left side, and then back down again. All the way down to where the waste in your body is released rapidly. And this white light shows you your digestive system, your intestines. And to the right, the largest organ in the abdomen, your liver. Almost this hexagon shape. And right in the middle, below that little dip in your ribs where your rib cage meets your abdomen, you can see your stomach. And to the left of the stomach, you see your pancreas. And it's almost as though with this white light, this radiant, divine light, you're watching this entire area of your body like you're watching a movie. You're seeing how it's always doing its job, no matter what contents the stomach has. The liver is there to support. The pancreas is there to support. And whatever contents you put in the stomach just does its job. Whether those are things that serve you or things that don't. Whether that's too much food. That distorts the stomach, that expands it, or that gives it heartburn. It still obeys, doesn't it? And I wonder, what have you been using food to cope with? Fear of what? What have you been using food to cope with? Fear of what? Without judgment, with loving kindness and compassion, just noticing. What's coming up. And what you've just done right now is you've opened up that portal, that ability to connect with the digestive system, this part of your body that works for you tirelessly, trying to help you cope with that thing that you're fearing, that you're using food to cope with. And we're going to prepare now to come back. This portal will remain open for the rest of the day. And I'd like for you to journal on it. I'm using food to cope with this that I have fear around. So feeling the energy surging through the body with every single breath you take now. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Feeling more and more awake. Prepare to open your eyes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And Michelle's going to place another quick poll just to see how you've received day 2. And I want to thank you for spending this time with me today and for spending this time with you today. And tomorrow we're going to talk about metabolism, which means we're going to continue to talk about cortisol and insulin. We're going to continue to talk about what's happening in your body when you're in protection mode. And more importantly, tomorrow is really cool because we're going to start to actually create some real change in metabolism tomorrow. And what I want you to do to continue this conversation, first of all, you're going to receive an email for the replay, or you'll come back to the Facebook group and watch the replay. And if you do have an opportunity to watch again, please watch again. There's a lot of information and it just takes repetition to master it. And so if you're able to reflect on what's coming up and really answer that question, like what am I fearing? There's something that I have fear around and I'm using food to cope with it. What is it? And I shared with you today the scarcity mindset. I'm not this enough. I don't have that enough. I worry about this. And it is from a scarcity thought. And so if you give yourself full permission without judging yourself, what am I afraid of? Where really, if I'm sitting in my truth right now, where are my fears? And I want you to do this exercise. I also want to tell you tomorrow when you join, I'm not going to force you to share. That's for you. If you feel like sharing, I'm honored. I'd be honored to hold space for you. However, that's not the goal. The goal is for you to do this exercise and really get to the root of what it is that you have fear around and why you're needing food to feel safe. And so Again, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me today and for allowing me to do what I love, which is to serve you and to hold space for you and to share with you a new perspective around how to really have lasting change and to get you out of this constant cycle and feeling of not enoughness, like you're not doing something right. Because you are. And everything your body's been doing for you up until this point is very healthy in terms of how it's supposed to respond nervous system wise. However, there is a way to get out of it. And that's why we call it rapid release, because when you stop focusing on the weight and the side effect of what's happening and you actually focus on the nervous system, you actually do see everything start to change. And so I am looking forward to continuing this conversation with you tomorrow and to really unpack some of these myths that we have about metabolism. So I'll see you then. Thank you so much.